everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. My name is Zurnitze, and I'll be your moderator during this online session on behalf of the Master's Degree Selection Platform Unimi Masters. Our session today is devoted to the Master in Management program at the Maastricht School of Management, one of the oldest business schools in the Netherlands, and its potential to fast forward your career. Let us now welcome our panelists. On behalf of the MSM, we have Hermina Koyman, Manager Enrollment and Career Services, and Inka Didens, Recruitment Officer. Here with us are also three of MSM's Master in Management former and current students. We have Juan Carlos Ramonet, Filipus Vovaletsekos, and Angela Atella. We will start with an overview of the Master in Management program at MSM, and then discuss with Juan Carlos, Filipos, and Angela how it is helping them meet the expectations on the current job market. Your questions are welcome, so if you have any, please type them down either in the chat box or the Q&A box anytime during the webinar, and we'll take the time to address them at the end of the session. The webinar is being recorded, and you'll receive a follow-up email with a link to the recording next week. Now, I would like to give the word to Hermina to present herself and the MSM Master in Management program. Hermina, you're welcome.
Thank you, Zori. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you, or not see you, but nice. Thank you for being here today. Just to make sure that you can hear me, and it's always fun to see if you can type in the chat. I see Mary Joy already did that. But if you can type in the chat where you're from, it's always nice to see some of the countries. So please just, then I'm sure you can hear me as well. In the meantime, let me share my screen and then we'll get started. Okay. Voila. So today, we'll be talking about the Master in Management and about how studying a Master in Management can help you with your career. So we'll be looking at a few things. We'll cover obviously some general information so that you know who we are and where we come from. And then we'll look at the market and what it needs, and based on that, how the Master in Management can help you with that. Before covering a few practical informations about the programs and then going through to the question and answer section. If you have any questions during the presentation, please put them down in the chat. Inka will be answering them during the webinar, so absolutely not a problem. And then afterwards, if anything was left unanswered, or if one of the questions was maybe just worthwhile repeating, we'll look at that at the end as well. So a little bit of general information. So about myself, I am originally from South Africa, but working at Maastricht School of Management here in the Netherlands. And I am in charge of the enrollment team. And in the enrollment team, we basically manage everything that is non-academic at Maastricht School of Management. So recruitment, admissions, career services, student services, alumni services, and then the additional challenges and sustainable workshops and things like that. My colleague Inka is in charge of recruitment, and so that's why she's here today, also answering all of those questions that you might have. So if you have any questions also during, after the webinar, you can always reach out to her and she can give you more information. But more important, the stars of the show today, we have two alumni and one student that's also here to talk more about their own experiences so far. And I'd like them to introduce themselves. So firstly, Angela, if you can maybe tell the audience where you're from, what you studied before coming to MSM, why you joined MSM, and what you're doing now.
Thank you, Hermina. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Angela. I'm originally from Indonesia. I did my bachelor degree in Switzerland for hospitality and events management. And then I went to MSM to do my master's degree in Masters in Management. And currently I'm working in Maastricht as a career consultant and key source manager at HRC International. Yeah, I guess that's, and then why I joined MSM. I think it's because it's very I'm feeling that I've highly related with the curriculum that MSM have, especially with the MM. So I was very actually excited to join the class, and also I had a great time during my master's year. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Philippos, the student. So tell us a little bit, you are currently in Maastricht studying the Master in Management. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, hello, thank you. As Romina said, I'm Philippos, I'm from Greece. I did my bachelor's in business management in the UK. And work experience, I had to complete my mandatory military service in Greece, which was an experience in itself. And then I've done a couple internships here and there over the summer for a couple months. One of the main reasons I chose MSM was mainly because it applied to what I want to do in the future, which is get into consulting, and its curriculum and the projects and the practical aspect of it was something that it was evident that I needed in order to pursue that career path. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And last but not least, Juan Carlos.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Juan. I see my picture. I haven't shaved since that picture, so I might look a little bit different. But yeah, I'm from Mexico, and I studied industrial engineering in Mexico as my bachelor. I also studied theater at the same time, so very complementary, right? And then I decided to move to the Netherlands to look for a master, and I found MSM. I like that there's a lot of different topics, and since I like a little bit of everything, you have finance, economics, a little bit of everything. I went for it, and now I'm doing compliance for Wish, which is an e-commerce platform, basically. And that's me.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So let's get started on just a few basic MSM facts. So we are one of the oldest business schools in the Netherlands, and in comparison to a lot of other universities and even business schools, what makes us different is that we really just focus on management and business administration. We don't do anything else. So we've got one master in management and then an MBA in different formats. And then we do short courses, which are specifically so focused on management and business topics. We are specialized in being generalized management school. And so we also have some accreditations, which is important to take into account when you are looking for your studies. So we have the NVO accreditation, which is it's a local accreditation, which means you can work in the Netherlands after you've done your degree, if you are interested in that. And then the most useful one to consider when you are looking at other business schools as well is the AMBA accreditation, because it's an international accreditation, which is recognized worldwide. A few other facts that we are proud of is just simply that our Master in Management and MBA are doing exceptionally well on the EdUniversal rankings. This year we moved up to the #1 spot in the Netherlands, so that we are very proud of. And also just in the CEO magazine, as it's recognized as a very good program. Now, living in the Netherlands, if you have never been to the Netherlands, it's a small little country, but extremely interesting place to live in and study in. And I'll talk about that shortly. But first, I just wanted to point out where Maastricht is. So we're in the south of the Netherlands, and we are squished in between Belgium and Germany. So we're about 10 minutes away from the Belgian border and 20 minutes away from the German border. About 2.5 hours from Amsterdam, an hour from Brussels, to an hour from Cologne in Germany. So really international and easily accessible to all the other European countries. Maastricht itself is a beautiful city, and students often say that it's small enough to feel at home, and big enough to never get bored. Now, Angela and Philippos, you both are still in Maastricht. Maybe Angela, if you can tell the audience a little bit about what you really enjoy about Maastricht.
Of course. So as you mentioned earlier, Hermina, it's very international. A lot of young people live in Maastricht, so you will never get bored living in Maastricht. And also we're really close from Germany, Belgium, and France. So, 2 hours to 3 hours driving to Paris, and a couple of hours to go to Germany and Belgium, which I really love it because I love traveling.
Yeah. And Juan Carlos, you actually moved up afterwards. You got a job in Amsterdam, am I correct?
Yes, I'm based in Amsterdam. But Maastricht is also beautiful. Like you can never decide with the cities in the Netherlands. They all look like, like fairy tale, basically, cities.
Yeah, yeah. And you're still happy there?
Sorry?
You're still happy in Amsterdam?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And what do you miss about Maastricht the most?
The carnival. Yeah, that,
Okay.
I don't know if I don't know if people know, but there's a carnival in February in Maastricht that it's so nice. You get like the culture and a lot of food, a lot of super Dutch people, dancing in the streets. That's super fun. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we just had our carnival here, and Philippos, you were there, right? You joined the MSM carnival and then went out, I suppose?
Yes, I joined. It was very fun. It was nice because we were interacting not only with current MM9 students, there was also some alumni there. There were some MBA students. It was nice for the entire MSM community to interact with each other. And then obviously afterwards we went out to the streets and we partied and everyone was there. So it was just an amazing time.
It was crazy. Yeah, exactly. I also went out and it was crazy. Any case, Maastricht, amazing place to live, quite safe. Students always, I know in a previous discussion I had said at 2 o'clock, they're still able to walk down the streets far to a friend's house and things like that. So from that perspective, it's also important to be aware of. A little bit more about the Master in Management specifically. So for, the average work experience is about 1.5 to 2 years, and normally the students are of an average age of about 23 to 25 years old. Most importantly is the nationalities. We really have students coming from all over the world, and that's actually also so nice today, seeing that we already just in this panel discussion have people coming from 3 different countries, and that sort of really does summarize a little bit what MSM is all about. So that's just to give you a bit of a profile of the Master in Management. If you have more than 3 years of experience, then normally we recommend the MBA. Sometimes the gray zone of 3 to 4 years we will discuss with you. So if you're in that case, then it's better to reach out to our recruiters, Inco, Julia, and they will review with you. But if it's not possible, then it's better to go to the MBA. So that's a little bit about our program. So today we are going to focus only on the Master in Management. If you are interested in the MBA, we will do another webinar on that, and you can always join one of those. So let's go jump right in and talk about the job market and what do companies want. And now the first thing I wanted to highlight is the good news that right now, post-COVID, there's a massive demand for employees in the job market. So the Netherlands right now is booming with regards to vacancies. So our students are being recruited now already. I know quite a few students are already getting invited for interviews, but also the alumni that graduated, they're doing really well on the job market. And Angela, I think you are one of those examples, right? Where you hadn't even finished and you'd already had a job offer.
Yes, that's correct. Actually, I started my master's in October 2020, and I graduated in December last year. But then as of May 2021, I already got a job offer. So I started with a part-time job and then I'll continue with a full-time job.
Wow. Okay. So I know that's it's a trend that we've been seeing more and more. Obviously, you never know what the future is going to be like, but at least right now things are looking really positive for the job market. But more importantly, and this is more related to the actual career boost that I want to talk about today, and that's the alumni and students are going to talk to you about today, is the skills that the job market needs. And when you are applying for a job, there are always the hard skills that you will need to be able to a job. So if you apply for an engineering job, you're going to have certain engineering knowledge. If you apply for a IT job, you're going to have certain IT skills and knowledge. So some of the hard skills for specific jobs, you'll need those skills. The difference is that in the Netherlands and in Europe in general, more and more companies are looking for people with the soft skills, because the hard skills they can train you on, even if it's an engineering job and it's a specific thing that you haven't been taught in, that's something they can send you for a training on. The soft skills, though, whether you can fit into the team, whether you are culturally aware, whether you have good communication skills, whether you are a creative problem solver, those skills are much more difficult to teach. And so it is something that companies, when they are hiring someone, they look much more closely to that than they used to do in the past. So if we do look at the skills and how they have changed as well, companies are gearing towards the future and knowing how this digital transformation is creating a massive issue for companies. Companies are starting to look at adaptability. They're looking at complex problem solving. They're looking at, proactivity, and creativity is very important. So I was wanting to ask, and this is where especially Angela and Juan Carlos, you've both entered the job market. Maybe Juan, you can tell us have you noticed which of these skills has been important for you?
Yes, I think all of them are important, but definitely critical thinking and just problem solving in general are, for me, the most important, because that's what you look for on team members, right? People that are, proactive in solving problems and are all over, finding the solutions instead of putting walls and barriers. I think that's very important. It's an attitude thing as well. Attitude. When you have the right attitude, you can fit into a team quite easily, I think.
Yeah, and if you had to think back to your your Master in Management, and did you learn, or did you deepen your skills or your soft skills in complex problem solving?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember, often in the classes, I remember that there was, the theory part where you are listening to the teacher explaining a topic, whatever the topic may be, but then you have this practice part, right? When you divide yourself into groups, and then we have a problem, a case study, and then you have to actually find a solution, even if it's, theoretical sometimes, but you also can do it on a company. But anyways, you gather around with your team, and then you find the solutions, and then you present it, in the classroom, and then you decide, okay, this was a good way of solving the problem, and this was not a good way of solving the problem.
Yeah. And Angela, for you, was in your career path right now, what skills would you say are the most important?
I must say that complex problem solving, emotional intelligence, and service orientation.
Okay. And for you also, if you think back to your Master in Management, how did you deepen your knowledge in those skills?
I think it's definitely with all the classes, with the, like Juan just said before, with theoretical and also practical sessions that you have together with your classmates, but also with the PDP and workshop sessions with you and with some external people that I had for 1 year. I think that's really, really helpful to enhance these skills.
Yeah. Filipos, you are currently in the Master in Management, and you mentioned yourselves, you just did a bit of internships before, and then obviously a military year. And you've chosen the to grow in consulting, where all of these skills will be super important. Now you've just done what, 5 months, more or less 6 months already in your Master in Management. Have you noticed that you're being challenged in any of these skills?
For the complex problem solving and critical thinking, definitely, because as Juan said before, we have the theory part of the courses, and then we have the actual practice part, in which the instructors separate us into groups and tell us do this case study or do that case study. And I think that helps a lot with not only problem solving, but just working in a team and managing people management, which, as we can see there as well. So I think the MSM program, also through the workshops, as Angela said, and the PDP, kind of encapsulates the entire thing. So they look into all the skills and they help you grow as an individual and as someone who's marketable for your potential career choice.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now, if we go a little bit more deeper into that, I want to just explain because you've all alluded to this, but basically in the Master in Management, we try to prepare students for the job markets. And so we you've all mentioned the assignments, and I'm glad to hear that, because that was the whole point of doing it. With the Master in Management, obviously, you still need to learn the theory. We're a university and there's an academic side to it. But the point is then through these assignments to get that hands-on, learn by doing experience, where you go deeper into the knowledge. It also teaches that proactivity and self-study mindset that companies are also looking for. And effectively also the group discussions is super important, especially for multicultural diversity, sensitivity to all these different cultures. And that's something that really helps students prepare for the future. And then also just throughout the year, we try to keep it interesting by having company visits, having guest lecturers and simulation games in the courses. So that's also a way to keep it much more interactive than just learning from a book and feeling that you're wasting your time being in class. Now, if we look at the curriculum, and I think several of you mentioned it as well. I think, Juan, you mentioned that's also why you chose it, because it had a bit of everything in the program. When we set up the Master in Management program, we actually created it based on our MBA, which we've been doing for 70 years now. And the Master in Management program was sort of created on that topic, because management and business are very strongly interconnected. And so there is a lot of overlap in the names of the courses. The difference is effectively how they are taught, the case studies, the companies that are connected to the courses, but also for the Master in Management, we have tried to find other ways to future-proof the careers, especially looking towards the future where the world is becoming a global village. And so managing cultural diversity is an utmost important course that we offer. Students always start with that to be able to really get into that from the beginning, especially since our students come from all over the world. It's sort of useful to be aware of that. And then we also have courses in data analytics and digital transformation. I think, Filipos, you're busy doing one of those courses right now, right?
Yeah. We just today finished data analytics, so the entire course and now all we have to do is the individual and group assignments.
Okay. So effectively, and in that course, do you feel that you learned something that you didn't know beforehand about data analytics?
I mean, 100%. First of all, all of the programs that we used, they were new to me, like Tableau and the Orange 3. And also I was able to gain a deeper understanding of Excel and how to use Excel to analyze data, which is very important, I think, especially in current times where everything is just digital.
Exactly. And everything is about data. And it's not just about having the data, it's about knowing how to analyze it properly, asking the right questions. But also additionally to those digital topics, we have included in as a basis, so this is like part of the core curriculum, a course in entrepreneurship and innovation. Because even if you don't want to start your own company one day, being an entrepreneur, so being proactive and creative within the company, is also important. And we saw that also in this list of skills that I showed just now, how creativity is such an important skill. And so this is also covered in that course. Now, Juan and Angela, you both already had that course. I don't, Juan, I don't know if you remember, did you have Vinant for that course?
You're talking about the which course, sorry?
The entrepreneurship course.
Oh yes, we did, yeah.
And so my experience with that course, because I had it for the MBA, was that it's a lot of reading, a lot of case studies, but in the end, it was one of the courses that I actually learned the most from. I don't know if that was the case for you as well.
Yes, definitely. And yeah, it is a lot of reading, but it is also about interesting topics, right? I think in business, entrepreneurship is one of the most interesting ones because then you get to the creative side of business, which is like literally starting a company from nothing and then realizing, okay, how am I going to raise some money and then how I'm going to get into the next level and then what about my product, like who are my customers, right? So all these things that are from zero to hero, let's say, you don't have them in a very already static business, like let's say Ford Motor Company, right? Like there's, of course, you have entrepreneurship within the company, but it's just a little bit different. It is not the same. So that's my opinion on the topic. I love entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree with you because it was the course I was looking forward to the least in the curriculum, and it was the one that surprised me the most, that I enjoyed it the most. So, Filipos, I don't know if you've had it already.
Yeah, I did have it. It was quite interesting.
Okay, good.
As you said, and as Juan said, there were a lot of reading and a lot of theory, but it was very useful in the end.
Yeah. So once again, just a little way we've done it to help students also, even with courses that you wouldn't necessarily think of, we believe is super important to help you prepare for the future. Now, just this the diagram that's in the top right-hand corner, it's a diagram which shows sort of like the three core pillars of the MSM curriculum, and it's sort of like our link to our vision and mission, is that we really try to focus on sustainability, entrepreneurship and innovation, and then this digital revolution, and seeing how it can all be interconnected so that we can help bridge the gaps in the different markets. So that's also a bit of who we are, because students often ask me, why MSM, why choose your school? Well, this is sort of like the type of things that are important for us. So if that is something that's important for you, or if you're looking for something else, at least you're aware of that. Now, where the the Master in Management, becomes a bit more unique, and I think, Angela, you referred to that already, was the more hands-on courses that you do. And the one is the personal development portfolio. Another one is that you actually do a company project for a company, and then there's also a supply chain project. Now, Angela, I don't know if you can tell us a little bit about the personal development portfolio. What is it like? What did you learn? How did that help you?
Yes, so it's a very interesting course. So we learn different kind of skills every week. So like negotiating skill, consulting skills, and the lecture is actually very, very experienced in that, and he made it really, really fun and interesting every time we had a class. And I think it's very useful, you know, to to get to know more about like self-awareness about your skills. What do you have? What do you want to improve? What you're good at? And then, yeah, at the end, we also have like a project together with our classmates, and then to have a reflection on what we did for 1 year, and to see your growth, you know. So what, so who you were 1 year ago and who you are now. And I think making that reflection makes me realize how changed I am as a person, and that I'm actually, you know, grow as a person personally and professionally.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Philippos, you're about halfway through this personal development portfolio. How is that going for you?
It's quite helpful, to be honest. It helps with making yourself marketable, even regardless of how wrong that might sound, to the businesses, and to basically kickstart your future. We learn about elevator pitches, we learn about how to fix our CV, and then we also learn about the soft skills, as everyone has mentioned, in which is extremely important. We do different questionnaires, we do different tests that help us figure out who we are as people, help us figure out our wants, our needs, and I think that's the most important about anybody for the future, especially starting your career. You shouldn't start your career as doing something you dislike. You should find out what you want to do, and through the personal development portfolio, that is what is achieved.
Definitely. Now, Juan, I actually saw that you were in this picture for the group consulting project. Do you want to maybe tell us how that worked? Because you did it on the digital transformation theme, if I'm not mistaken. How did that go?
Yes, we did. First of all, such an amazing picture. We look so nice. And this was when we finished the project, and it was for a company called Nescroft that did bolts, you know, for a lot of different things. And they are a big company. They have a big manufacturing in the south of the Netherlands. And the project was about, you know, how like digital transformation of business, right? Like what initiatives can we bring to the table to the company so that they can, you know, innovate their infrastructure, their manufacturing, their business model, their processes. So we help them with that, and there was a little bit of a healthy competition between all the teams, and you got like a prize. A prize. Our team didn't win, but it was such a nice experience to be actually doing some work in the field for a company that's such as big, you know, as Nestro. I had good times with it. Yeah.
And Angela, you also last year you were, if I'm correct, you had to do it online, right?
Yes. Yeah, I did.
But you did two.
One is with the Weir Mineral, that's the group company project, and the supply chain, that's with the hospital.
Abbots, right?
Yeah. No.
And how did that go?
I think I learned a lot, definitely, because it's more about like enhancing your consulting skills, right? And I think that's also very helpful for my future career personally. Definitely, I learned about teamwork, working with different people, different background, and managing a team. You know, it's also not very easy, but I think we did it well. And how to, you know, approach that company to actually be open to us so we can help them. That's where your consulting, negotiating skills are actually playing into work. So that's very interesting.
And Philippos, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've just started you've met the company, right? And you guys do you already have groups? Where are you in your project so far?
Yeah, we've already met the company. The name escapes me currently. I've been trying to remember it. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And our concept is how can they become more sustainable as a business. I mean, we're at the starting stages of the project, but I can already see how useful it will be, because you are basically put in this business environment in a sense, and you're you're assigned to make a decision about a big change and a big investment that a firm will make. And again, because I want to get into consulting, first of all, this is very near to my field of interest. But I think for anybody that wants to do anything in regards to management, they need an experience like that, an experience of making a decision, making sure it's the right decision, and analyzing every single aspect of it. So even though it's at the starting stages, it will prove to be very useful. I'm pretty sure about that.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, and good luck, because it is a lot of work. Now, we've also slightly mentioned this. It's different to the personal development portfolio, but it is strongly interconnected with it. It's an extracurricular service that we also offer at MSM. It's the career and personal development track, and we will focus a bit more just on the career-related skills that you will need for the job market, while the personal development portfolio, which is part of the curriculum, does focus much more on just interpersonal skills and growth in general. And so throughout the year, we do offer workshops on specific topics that will make you more interesting for the job market. And because we keep the classes small at MSM, so for the Master in Management, as I mentioned, we're about 30 to 35 students maximum per class. I think, Juan, when you were in class, it was a smaller group, but since then it's grown quite a lot. We, in any case, to keep it maximum to that size, because we want to have that personal connection with each student and know them all, so that we can help them with these sessions and you know, give them personalized feedback and advice. So that is something that is quite important, and connected to that are the student challenges, which we have started now for the third year. Well, we're doing it for the third year in a row, where we've partnered up with a company here in the Netherlands that actually created a sustainable development goals challenge for MSM, where students go and work in a company for a sprint a day, and they've thrown a challenge that they have to you know, come up with a solution in a sprint format. So it's also good for teaching agile skills and for the competition side of things, for the pitching, you know, because it all brings the new skills to students to experience. So this is something that's also extracurricular, but that's students get a really hands-on experience to develop those soft skills that we mentioned. So just to summarize this section, that the MBA, the MSM Master in Management degree really does try to make you more attractive to the job market, so that you can fast forward your career through a specific choice of courses, through the hands-on learning, the company visits, the student competitions, the simulation games that we've mentioned, the individual assignments that all three of the alumni and students mentioned about, the you know, having to go and find that information and being critical in your thinking, the group assignments, which really helps you with the teamwork, the multicultural awareness, your communication skills, your negotiation skills, your influencing skills, your leadership skills, you name it. And then you have obviously the self-awareness, which we work on throughout the year through the program, the personal portfolio program. And then the other that I've already mentioned is the cultural awareness, the communication skills, but also because it is a very intense year. It's a one-year program, but nearly 2 years of content that has been put into 1 year to really maximize your experience. You're also going to learn a lot about time and stress management and adaptability. So that's in a nutshell what we've covered so far. But the next question is obviously if you want to fast forward your career, because it's not just about boosting your skills, but it's about how can that actually make a difference. Well, based on my research, talking to students, talking to the job markets, when students are looking for a job, so they've just graduated, they're very excited, they've got a great degree, a master degree in management at MSM, and now they need to start looking for a job. Generally speaking, we notice that there's not much difference on paper with other universities, other degrees. You've got a nice degree, and you'll be treated more or less the same as other applicants during that first phase. You might be recognized as having a more of a, if you compare it to Formula One, like a pole position, simply because you've got a nice master in management, and the management degree really helps sort of like put a deeper layer of knowledge to your field of interest. But that's about it. It's really at that moment, it's up to you when you're in the interviews to sell yourself. And hopefully we do help you with that during the, career and personal development track. But we have noticed the good news is that most of our students find a job within the first 6 months. Most is much sooner than that. But then we always have the 1 or 2 that either are starting their business or say they want to take a bit of time off after their studies. So obviously, statistic-wise, it's a bit different. But then we get to the proving yourself. And now this is where we start seeing a small difference. That's when your understanding of business, your awareness of cultural sensitivities, your communication skills, your influencing skills, your reporting skills start making a difference in your career. Now, Angela, you are more or less there right now. I don't know if you've already noticed this, because I think you mentioned before we started, you're already getting slightly more responsibilities, right?
That's correct. Yes. So I think yeah, it's really right. So I started with internship. I think that's very important because then, especially, I mean, I'm not European, so I just have the feeling that I need to prove myself. So that the company will want to sponsor me. So I started with internship and then being part of the team, junior positions. And then I think right now, after then 1-2 years now, so I started my internship before the master's. So internship, master's, part-time, and now 2 years. Yeah, I got more responsibilities. So yeah, I can confirm that.
Okay, so that's in any case what we've noticed in general, and that's where we already start seeing that the master in management makes a difference. And then we get to the exciting part, when after about 2 years, you really start growing in the responsibilities. You get fancier job titles, you get much more leadership positions, opportunities, career growth. And you can really see that also when I did a research to see how our alumni doing after 3-4 years. 95% of them had already had a career progression, either growing in the marketing, more market responsibilities, or literally going from just being an officer to a manager. And so you do see that a lot. Now, Juan, in your case, you've graduated a few years ago. How's that been going for you?
It's great, to be honest. I'm a manager now, so that's nice. My story went that it took for like 3 or 4 months to get a job, but at the beginning you get like a trial period, and it took me for 3 months to be, complete that period, and then after that they upgraded me to team leader, and last year they upgraded me to compliance and policy manager. So it's only 3 years, so I'm happy. But of course, I don't want to stop there, and I want to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good. I like it. Congratulations, by the way. Nice to hear that. I didn't even know that you've been made manager. So no, that's really good. Well done. But in any case, it confirms that again, it was sort of a risk question because I hadn't even asked you, but I just assumed it's based on everything we've seen, that the career progression of doing an MM, that's where we really start seeing the difference, is it goes very quickly. And because students have had all that exposure throughout the year at MSM, and then they just, when they start the job, they already have that they can apply what they've learned immediately. It's not just theoretical, and they still need to figure out how it works in the real life. Now, sometimes people ask me where students end up finding a job. Well, it's literally all over the world. But we do have an increasing amount of people staying in the Netherlands. It was 50% in 2020. It's even increased even more since then. But I have to do the exact statistics to update that. But we're sitting at about 65% now. But some students go back home, some get a job in another country. I know one of our students, I think Juani, was in your year, that ended up in Luxembourg, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then we've got other students going back to Italy, or going more international than that. So it is literally quite an international spread after the studies. And then also the type of questions people always ask me about, the type of companies they are, people end up working at. And once again, it's so difficult to answer that question, because students really go to all types of companies. And so you have some of the big famous names that everyone knows. And then you also have smaller companies where students are making a massive difference, but in companies that aren't very well known. And it really just depends. It depends a lot on your background, so the field of interest, what you did in the past, but it's also strongly related to your future, what you're interested in. And I think Philippos also alluded to that. During your year at MSM, we try to really help you figure out what's really good for you. So it's not just about aiming to go for the sexy name, wanting to work at a famous company, but it's more, is this really the good fit for you, and helping you figure that out. And so another thing that we're actually quite proud of, and we hadn't expected that for Master in Management students. I was very surprised when I did this statistics, that 15% of our Master in Management alumni actually have started their own company, which is quite a high percentage of students when you are thinking that it's about 30 students maximum per year. So that was quite nice to see. If we just look at the practical information very quickly, and then we can go over to the questions and answers, especially if you already have questions for our student and alumni, it might be a good time to start thinking about those. I see it's MBA, but it's a Master in Management for 2022. That is 16,000 euros. So it's a small typo there. But the good news is that there are several scholarships available. So the first one that's important to know is that depending on your region, if you're outside of the European Union, there's the Dean's Development Fund. If you're within the European Union, there's a European Fund. And for that, you can always ask to check with INCA. Other scholarships are merit-based. And so all of those, the details you can find on our website. They can be combined, but to a maximum of 50%. Unless you come from one of the very specific countries that we mentioned, the Orange Tulip Scholarship, and that once again, it's on our website, and there's a higher possibility for students coming from Indonesia, South Africa, I think Vietnam as well. So there are a few listed there that you can check out for the Orange Tulip Scholarship. The application process is relatively simple. It's not rocket science in that sense. We look at the CV, make sure that you don't have more than 4 years of experience at the absolute limit. So the average, like I said, the average is about 1.5, but up till 3 years, that's fine. We look at your motivation letter. That's really important. And then the proof of English, all the details also on our website. And then the application fee is 95 euros. So once you've uploaded all your information onto our portal, campus.msm.nl, you get invited to an interview. And in that interview, we will check whether you are a good fit for the program, but also whether the program is a good fit for you. And then finally, after that procedure, and if you've decided that MSM is the good fit for you and you do want to go forward with this program, you do have the choice of either completing the GMAT or the GRE, or we do have an alternative, which is 4 leveling courses that you can do via MSM. It's online, but you do need to complete them before the start of the semester. Now, something I just wanted to highlight is that through all this process, our admissions office really is there to support you. I know that both Juan and Angela, you needed, support from them for visas. I don't know, Juan, if you still remember how that went for you with the admissions office.
Yes, I do remember. Well, it's a process, but it's worth it. You just have to submit all your papers and find everything and all that. But yeah, I remember you helped me a lot, and some other people did as well. Yeah.
And the visa process, was it as scary as it sounds, or did it end up being okay?
Well, once that I have the benefit of hindsight, it's okay. But at the moment, it's just scary because you're afraid, and then like, oh, what if it, And now that I'm on this side, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Yeah.
Exactly. And Angela, for you?
It was actually pretty quick. I always believe that it's 2 ways efforts, I think the sooner you get all your documents ready, also the sooner the admissions people at MSM can help you. So make sure to always, do all the documents and CV and everything to make everything go smoothly.
Yeah. And do you have any tips for the potential candidates?
The tips, I think, to just now make your CV, updated CV, and the motivation letter, make it personalized, with your motivation letter, especially when you are applying for the scholarships, because I did apply for the scholarship. So make sure it's very professional and personal. And then just be always transparent and communicate a lot with the admissions people. They're there all the time to help you, so you have to believe that it's all gonna be fine, and then and then you're gonna enjoy your time in the Netherlands for sure.
Perfect. Thank you. Good tips. Also, just for those of you interested, we do have a webinar coming up later on. I think it's in April or May, specifically on scholarship application and admission procedures. So if you want to know more about that one, just keep an eye open for that. Right. And so just if you are interested in knowing more, you can always reach out to our recruiters. You can check out some videos online. Like I've mentioned, all the events, the lounge sessions. We might be coming to a country, to a city that you are in. So always check that out, and then we can meet up with you to answer your questions in person, or we can have a Zoom call. But also very importantly is that we have a chat option. So if you want to talk to our students and our alumni via chat and just find out how they are experiencing it, or how they experience it, basically today as well, the type of questions I asked them, you can reach out to them, and it's a much more honest approach than me saying how wonderful MSM is. So it is always good to find out a bit from other people, other students, how the program was, how they experienced it, and all the questions you might have that you don't want to ask one of the recruiters, you can feel more comfortable maybe to ask the students themselves. So don't hesitate to check out that link. So that basically sums up everything I had to mention, and I'm very, very grateful to all the input that Juan, Filipos, and Angela was able to give everyone. And I think now it's more about the questions. I saw in the chat there were a few discussions going on. Inka, I don't know from your side if there was any questions that needed to be discussed in more detail.
Yes, thank you, Amina. So we have one question. I don't see the name, but it's particular if one of the alumni, so that would be Angela or Juan Carlos, could give some tips for the motivation letter.
Okay, how about Angela? It's probably the most recent in your mind, and then we'll see if Juan Carlos has anything to add.
Of course. I think motivation letter is supposed to be very personal. So know the person that you're going to send this motivation letter, and do a lot of research about MSM. What I did is I actually did research about the lectures, the curriculums. I actually put some names of the lectures in my motivation letter that I really inspired from them. And they are the reasons, one of the reasons why I choose MSM. And be very also practical. So don't think that motivation letter has to be with this high kind of like buzzwords, you know. I think it has to be very related, and yeah, like just be who you are in that motivation letter. I think that's from my side.
Juan, anything from your side?
I think I would just make emphasis on Angela's point about being yourself. I think that's the most important thing for me, just being honest and just write your thing. And if it's something that it's very characteristic of you and is maybe something that makes you proud, even if it's weird, like people like that. People like originality. So I would just agree with that. Yeah.
And I can confirm that also from that mission's perspective. The more we get to see who you really are, the more we appreciate the letter. And then also to do your research and not just use a standardized template that you apply to 10 different schools. Make sure that it's one that's specific to MSM. Great.
See if it's for 10 different schools, you will notice. Then one other question, if in the MM any courses also related to social impact or corporate social responsibility?
Okay, let's see, Angela, maybe you can start with that. I don't know, obviously from an extracurricular point of view, I know that, but from you, once again, you most recently finished the course. Filipos is only halfway. So Filipos, if you've got anything to add to that, you can always say that. But maybe Angela?
So the question is the corporate responsibility and
sustainability.
And stability. Yes, of course. Like for example, I think we have the innovation and entrepreneurship, like how we can also make business which is like sustainable, and we also learn about corporate responsibility as well there. Also with other subject, I think with leadership as well, we learned about that, because that's very important for leaders to know about that. And the extracurricular, well, the SDG and other extracurricular, I think, yeah, you have a lot of options to explore that for sure.
And Filipos, from your side?
There's also the Managing Cultural Diversity course, which is very helpful in terms of sustainability, and it doesn't only have to do with the CSR of a company towards the environment and the society. It also has to do with within the business, so how you treat the employees, how you treat everybody basically. So I think that's also a good course with that. And also strategy and innovation. Even though it was more about business decisions, we still covered topics of CSR and sustainability. So I think there's the courses that have to do with a lot of theoretical management instead of so much practical. So for example, strategy or entrepreneurship or managing cultural diversity they look into all aspects of the business. So a lot of courses kind of cover it.
Yeah, and then obviously also the company project, it depends every year, the theme might change. So Juan, you did it on digital transformation, but Filipos, you're going to be doing on a sustainable related topic, right? So Angela, I think you also had more sustainable related topic. Yeah, so voila.
Carmina, I want to mention that we did as well the Agro Fair project, where we had to implement the 16, sustainable development goals. Which is the same, I think, that you're doing, but that was very interesting as well. We also had that. It was quite interesting. I didn't even know that those existed, to be completely honest, at the time. Now I'm more familiar with them.
Exactly. Well, that we often notice that when students arrive at MSM, they've never heard of the SDGs, and then they get to know them quite quickly. And we do try and push that knowledge quite strongly. So yeah, good points. Inka, another question?
Yes. One question from Ibrahim Jean. Sorry, I hope I pronounced your name correct. If you would recommend the program for someone that wants to become an entrepreneur.
Maybe the students can answer that. Well, Philippe, I see you nod. I don't know if you've got a specific feedback.
I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, we look at a course that is called entrepreneurship, first of all. So that basically covers the whole topic. But then we learn everything about a business, so leadership, supply chain management, managing cultural diversity, analyzing data. So I think you get an idea of the entirety of a business and how it's run. So yeah. I think it's, yes, quite a useful program if you want to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and the proof is in the pudding. Like I said, I was quite surprised, but when I found out that already 15% of our recent alumni have started their own business, that's statistically quite high in comparison to normal schools. So that was once again just to show that it does somehow help them prepare for that. Inka, anything else?
That's it for the questions. I just answered regarding the deadlines, but maybe just from experience, what would you say is the best moment to apply? Because now it's March and the program starts in September.
Yeah, so that's true. And also for scholarships specifically. So the first scholarships that are important that have fixed deadlines is the OKP scholarship. So if you are from a specific country, and once again, that's a very specific Dutch government scholarship. It's not an MSM scholarship. The application deadline is actually next week. So that is very urgent if you are from a specific country listed in those scholarships. It's a full Dutch government scholarship. So it is something to look at, and I think Inka can put the link in there for you for the OKP scholarship. The Orange Tulip scholarship, it's also the one I've mentioned. That's a specific scholarship. The deadline is also coming up. It's the 1st of April. We will most probably do a second round for that as well, and that deadline will be 1st of June, but we'll be confirming that. I think, Angela, did you have the Orange Tulip scholarship?
No, I didn't. I have the European Star.
The European Fund, yes. And Juan, did you have the Orange Tulip?
Yes, I got it. Yeah.
So that's together with NISA. So we do a partnership with that one. And so it is important also to check the deadlines for that, because you have to apply to MSM and then upload it onto the NISA webpage. So those are the two upcoming the urgent scholarships. The other ones is the 1st of May, the early bird deadline closes. So if you are interested in the early bird deadline, then it is quite a significant discount. In my opinion, I think it's 2,000 euros for the early bird if you apply by the 1st of May and get admitted and paid. So it is time is running up for that as well. And then the others, the merit-based scholarships, so the Women Ambassador Scholarship and the Academic Excellence Scholarship, the deadlines are the 15th of June that we announced it, so end of June. And the other scholarships, so the Sustainable Development Goals Scholarship and the Dean's Development Fund and the European Fund, there's no deadline for those. So that's just a short overview. But generally speaking, besides scholarships being super important, what I actually do recommend even further is to actually look at the housing, because finding a place in Maastricht is super difficult. Finding a place in the Netherlands is complicated. Maastricht is actually slightly better than some of the other cities, but even then, I know a lot of our students really struggle to find a place, and especially if you apply late. Because then all the things at a good budget price is left. So have been, given away to other students. So the earlier you apply, the more chance you have of finding something within your budget and close to where you want to be. Okay.
I think that's it for questions. I think it's pretty clear. Everything else was already answered.
Great. Zori, anything from your side?
No, just a big thank you for all this informative session and all your enthusiasm. It was really, really very interesting and lively. I enjoy webinars like this a lot because they really help the candidates to give a feel of the university, not only to read and learn information, but also get the feel of the spirit of the university. So yeah, thanks Hermina, Angela, Juan, and Inka. It was really nice to meet you and to hear all we needed to know about the Master in Management and how it can really equip you with the skills and with the confidence to do the next steps in your career. If you have any final words, please.
Well, I personally just want to say thank you firstly to everyone that attended today, and also a huge thanks to Angela, Juan, and Filipos. You guys were awesome. It was nice catching up again, seeing you, hearing you. So yeah, thank you very much. We're actually going to, you will be there on Friday because we're having an alumni event on Friday. So hopefully I'll see you there. And for the ones that attended today, please don't hesitate. I see Inka's put her email address there, so please don't hesitate to contact us or to reach out to our students via the chat function.